The warning lights on Kepler Station flashed yellow as the sensors picked up something new. Commander Veltar looked at the main screen with interest. Her blue skin rippled slightly as water flowed through the breathing slits on her neck. As a member of the Nereid species, she needed the constant moisture to stay comfortable in the station's dry air. "What do we have, Sensor Chief Clicks?" she asked, her voice making soft bubbling sounds. Clicks, a tall insect-like being with 4 arms, tapped rapidly on his control panel. His compound eyes reflected the screen's glow as data scrolled past. "Unknown vessel approaching from the outer rim, Commander. No registration signature in any of our databases." Veltar moved closer to the main display. The ship appeared on screen as a small dot, but the computer was already building a detailed image. What she saw made her pause. The vessel looked unlike anything she had seen in her 30 years of service. "That design is strange," she said, studying the angular shape. The ship seemed to be made from different pieces welded together. Parts of it looked smooth and new, while other sections appeared old and worn. "It looks like someone built it from spare parts." "The construction is very basic," agreed Clicks. "But look at these readings, Commander. The ship is moving fast and the pilot is very skilled. They are threading through the asteroid field like they have done this 1,000 times." Veltar watched as the unknown ship moved between floating rocks with ease. Most new species took months to learn how to navigate the dangerous approach to Kepler Station. This pilot made it look simple. "Run a full scan," she ordered. "I want to know everything about that ship." The station's powerful sensors reached out across space. Information flowed back to the control room. The results were puzzling. "The ship is about 200 meters long," reported Clicks. "It appears to be a cargo vessel with some modifications. The hull is made from a metal alloy we do not recognize. Life support systems are active for one type of atmosphere. The design suggests the beings inside breathe oxygen and nitrogen." "Any weapons?" asked Veltar. "Nothing that looks dangerous. Some basic defensive systems, but nothing that could threaten the station." Veltar nodded. This was standard for most first contact situations. New species usually approached carefully, not wanting to seem threatening. She had handled dozens of first contacts during her career. Each one was exciting, but they all followed similar patterns. "Open a communication channel," she ordered. "Standard first contact protocol." The communication officer, a small furry creature named Pip, activated the station's transmitters. "Channel open, Commander." Veltar cleared her throat and began the greeting she had memorized years ago. "Unknown vessel. This is Commander Veltar of Kepler Station. You are approaching neutral space controlled by the Galactic Council. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. We welcome peaceful contact with all species." She paused, then continued in the 17 most common galactic languages. The translation computers would handle most other languages automatically. "If you do not understand this message, please respond in any way you can. We have translation systems that can help us communicate." They waited. Space communications always took time, even with faster-than-light transmitters. The unknown ship was still several hours away from the station. After 10 minutes, the speakers crackled to life. The voice that came through was rough and unfamiliar. It spoke in broken galactic standard, but the words were clear enough. "This is, Explorer Vessel Persistence. We are, how do you say, requesting permission to dock. We come in peace. Our intentions are trade and friendly contact." The voice paused, and they could hear background noise from the ship. Someone was talking to someone else, but the words were unclear. "We are new to this area of space," the voice continued. "We would like to learn about your customs and possibly trade goods. Our ship captain is Sarah Chen. She sends greetings to your station." Veltar felt the familiar excitement of first contact. A new species always meant new knowledge, new technology, and new friendships. The Galactic Council existed to help species work together peacefully. "Welcome to our space persistence," she replied. "I am Commander Veltar. We are happy to meet you and your people. Please continue on your current course. We will guide you to a docking bay suitable for your ship size. Do you have any special requirements for your life support systems?" "We breathe oxygen and nitrogen," came the reply. "Standard pressure is good for us. Temperature should be warm, about 20 degrees in your measuring system." "That is perfect," said Veltar. "We have docking bays that can accommodate those requirements. Please follow the guide beacons we are sending to your ship now." Clicks worked at his console, setting up the approach path. "Docking Bay 12 should work well, Commander. It has the right atmosphere mix and temperature control. The next few hours pass slowly. The unknown ship called Persistence continued its approach. Veltar used the time to prepare for first contact. She reviewed the station's protocols and made sure the diplomatic team was ready. Dr. Yan, the station's xenobiologist, arrived in the control room. He was a tall, thin being with gray skin and large eyes. His species specialized in studying other life forms. "I have reviewed the preliminary data," he said. "The atmospheric requirements suggest they evolved on a planet similar to several others we know. The ship design is interesting. It shows practical engineering but lacks the advanced materials most spacefaring species develop." "What does that mean?" asked Veltar. "They might be newer to space travel than most species we encounter. Or they might have developed technology in a different way. Some species focus on efficiency rather than advanced materials." The communication system activated again. The same rough voice came through the speakers. "Kepler Station, this is Persistence. We are now 2 hours from docking. We wanted to thank you for the welcome. We have gifts to share and goods to trade. Our people are excited to meet other species." "We look forward to meeting you as well," replied Veltar. "The Galactic Council values peaceful contact between all species. We have prepared a small ceremony to welcome you to our community of worlds." As the hours passed, more details about the approaching ship became clear. The vessel called Persistence carried a crew of only 4 beings. For a ship of its size, that was a very small crew. Most species needed larger crews to handle the complex systems required for space travel. "They must be very skilled," observed Dr. Yan. "Or their technology is more advanced than it appears." The ship continued to approach, moving smoothly through the space lanes around Kepler Station. The pilot showed excellent skill, avoiding other ships and following the guide beacons perfectly. Veltar felt good about this first contact. The newcomers seemed peaceful and friendly. Their ship was small and posed no threat to the station. Everything was proceeding according to standard protocol. She had no way of knowing that within the next hour, everything would change. The peaceful first contact would become something far more complicated. The name Sarah Chen would soon strike fear into beings across the galaxy, just as it had 50 years ago. But for now, Kepler Station waited peacefully for its new visitors to arrive. The ship called Persistence moved closer to Kepler Station. Captain Sarah Chen sat in the pilot's chair, humming quietly to herself as she guided the vessel through the final approach. Her fingers moved across the controls with practiced ease, making small adjustments to match the station's guidance signals. "Looking good, Captain," said her engineer, Mike Torres, from the seat behind her. "All systems are green. The station seems friendly enough." Sarah nodded, still humming. She had been nervous about this first contact, but the aliens seemed welcoming. Their station was huge compared to her small cargo ship. The docking bay they had assigned could probably fit 10 ships her size. "Remember, we're here to trade and make friends," she said to her crew. "We've got good coffee and some interesting Earth music to share. Maybe we can learn about their technology too." She reached over and activated the ship's external speakers. The system was originally designed for emergency broadcasts, but Sarah had modified it to play music. Long trips through space were boring, and music helped pass the time. "Let's give them a proper greeting," she said with a smile. She scrolled through her music collection and selected one of her favorites. This should be nice and welcoming. The opening notes of Space Oddity by David Bowie began to play from the ship's speakers. Sarah hummed along as the familiar melody drifted across space toward the station. "Ground control to Major Tom," she sang softly, matching the words on her personal music player. "Ground control to Major Tom." Inside Kepler Station, Commander Veltar was reviewing the final preparations for the welcome ceremony when the music reached the station's sensors. The communication officer, Pip, suddenly went very still. His fur stood up straight and his eyes grew wide with terror. "Commander," Pip whispered, his voice shaking. "Commander, you need to hear this." The haunting melody filled the control room. The words came through clearly, sung by an unknown voice that seemed to carry death and sorrow. "Take your protein pills and put your helmet on," the voice sang. "Ground control to Major Tom, commencing countdown, engines on." Dr. Yan dropped the data pad he was holding. His gray skin turned pale white. "No," he whispered. "It cannot be. What is wrong?" asked Veltar, but she could feel fear growing in her chest. The music was beautiful, but somehow terrible at the same time. Clix's forearms trembled as he worked his console. "Commander, this transmission signature. I need to check the archives." The song continued, drifting through space from the approaching human ship. Sarah Chen had no idea that her casual humming was causing panic throughout the station. "Check your circuit and may God's love be with you," the voice sang, as if preparing for some terrible battle. In the station's security center, alarms began to sound. Chief of Security Raxon, a large reptilian being with thick scales, rushed to his main console. His training had taught him to recognize threats, and something about this music made his warrior instincts scream danger. "All security teams to alert status," he ordered. "I want weapons charged and shields ready." His officers looked confused. The approaching ship was small and appeared harmless. But Raxon had learned to trust his instincts. Something was very wrong. Back in the control room, Clix had found what he was looking for in the archives. His compound eyes reflected the data as he read, and his voice shook as he spoke. "Commander, this music, this exact transmission signature, it matches classified files from the Proxima War." Veltar felt her breathing slits close in shock. The Proxima War had ended 50 years ago, but every military officer in the galaxy knew the stories. An unknown alien fleet had appeared during the conflict, broadcasting strange transmissions before each battle. "The Terran death songs," whispered Dr. Yan, remembering the classified briefings he had received years ago. "These are the mythical humans." The music continued to play as Sarah's ship approached the docking bay. On the station, beings began to panic. Word spread quickly through the corridors that the approaching ship was broadcasting the legendary death songs of Terra. "This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade," the voice sang, as if celebrating some victory in battle. Commander Veltar tried to remain calm, but her training was clear. The files about the humans were some of the most classified documents in the galaxy. They described a species that used psychological warfare before attacking. The death songs were their signature weapon. "Emergency Protocol 7, she ordered, her voice barely steady. "Seal all blast doors. Evacuate non-essential personnel from the docking area." "Commander," said Clix, "should we warn the ship? Tell them to stop the transmission?" Veltar thought about this. The humans might see a warning as a sign of weakness. According to the files, they were expert warriors who showed no mercy to those who appeared weak. "No," she decided. "Continue with the docking procedures. But I want all security teams ready." The song reached its climax as Sarah's ship entered the docking bay. "Though I'm past 100,000 miles, I'm feeling very still," the voice sang. "And I think my spaceship knows which way to go." Throughout the station, beings who had never heard of the humans felt primitive fear at the haunting melody. Those who knew the classified files felt something much worse. They remembered the stories of ships broadcasting these songs while they destroyed entire fleets. "Tell my wife I love her very much. She knows," the voice continued, as if the singer was preparing for death in battle. Sarah finished guiding her ship into the docking bay, completely unaware of the panic she had caused. The music continued to play as her ship settled onto the landing platform. She hummed along happily, thinking about the coffee she would share with the aliens. "Ground control to Major Tom. Your circuit's dead, there's something wrong," she sang softly, matching the words perfectly. In the station's command center, beings were hyperventilating. Security teams surrounded the docking bay with weapons ready. Emergency protocols were in effect throughout the station, all because Sarah Chen liked to listen to old Earth music while she flew her ship. She turned off the engines and began the shutdown procedures, still humming the familiar tune. "Can you hear me, Major Tom?" she sang quietly. "Can you hear me, Major Tom?" The last notes of the song faded away, leaving the station in terrible silence. Everyone waited to see what the legendary humans would do next. Sarah checked her appearance in a small mirror and smiled. She was about to meet aliens for the first time. She wanted to make a good impression. She had no idea that her name was already being whispered in fear throughout the galaxy. The humans had returned, and they were singing their death songs once again. The silence in Kepler Station's command center was broken by the sound of Pip's nervous breathing. The small furry communication officer was shaking as he stared at his console. The transmission had ended, but the memory of those haunting words still echoed in everyone's mind. Commander Veltar forced herself to think clearly. Her military training kicked in, pushing down the fear that threatened to overwhelm her. She had read the classified files about the humans, but she had never believed they were real. Most officers thought the stories were legends created to scare new recruits. "Clix, bring up everything we have on the Terran files," she ordered. I want to know exactly what we are dealing with. Clix's forearms moved rapidly across his console. Classified documents appeared on the main screen, marked with the highest security levels. The information was sparse, but what existed was terrifying. The first reports came from the Proxima War, Clix read aloud. An unknown alien fleet appeared during the Battle of Kepler's Edge. Before each engagement, they broadcast what survivors called death songs, haunting transmissions that seemed to prepare the aliens for battle. Dr. Yan had recovered from his initial shock and was studying the data. The psychological effect on enemy forces was devastating, he added. Ships would surrender without fighting after hearing the transmissions. Some crews abandoned their vessels entirely. What happened to the humans after the war? Asked Veltar. They vanished, said Clix. After the final battle, they simply disappeared. No one knows where they went. Most people assumed the stories were exaggerated or made up entirely. Commander Veltar looked at the screen showing the docked human ship. It sat quietly in the landing bay, appearing almost innocent. But she knew better now. This was a vessel of the legendary warriors who had terrorized the galaxy 50 years ago. In the security center, Chief Raxon was mobilizing his forces. The large reptilian had fought in several wars during his career, and he understood the importance of being prepared. His scales rippled with tension as he spoke to his team. I want snipers in positions overlooking the docking bay, he ordered. Set up energy barriers at all access points. If these humans try to leave the bay without permission, stop them. One of his officers, a young insectoid named Zik, raised a concern. Chief, what if this provokes them? The files say they are expert warriors. Raxon's yellow eyes narrowed. The files also say they respect strength. We show weakness and they will walk all over us. We show strength and maybe they will negotiate. Throughout the station, word was spreading about the identity of their visitors. Maintenance workers whispered to each other in the corridors. Shopkeepers in the commercial district started closing their stores. Parents hurried their children to safety. In the lower levels of the station, an old maintenance chief named Grixipol heard the news and nearly fainted. His breathing apparatus hissed as he struggled to control his panic. Unlike most of the station's residents, Grixipol had personal experience with the humans. His grandfather had served on a Zephyrian battle cruiser during the Proxima War. The old warrior had told young Grixipol stories that gave him nightmares for years. Stories about ships that sang before they killed. They would appear out of nowhere, his grandfather had said, his voice shaking with remembered fear. These crude, ugly ships that looked like they were built in a junkyard. But they moved like dancers, like they were alive, and always they would sing before the battle. Grixipol remembered his grandfather's description of the human warriors. They felt no fear, the old soldier had said. They would sing their death songs and then attack like demons. We had better ships, better weapons, better everything. But they had something we did not understand. They fought like each battle was a celebration. Now those same warriors were here on Kepler Station. Grixipol dropped his tools and rushed to find a communication terminal. He had to warn someone, anyone, about what they were really facing. Back in the command center, more classified files were being reviewed. The intelligence reports painted a picture of humanity that was both fascinating and terrifying. According to these records, Dr. Yan reported, the humans used music as part of their battle preparation. Each ship seemed to have its own collection of songs. The variety was enormous. Some were fast and aggressive. Others were slow and haunting. The psychological warfare aspect was clearly intentional, added Clix. They would broadcast these songs on all frequencies before attacking. Enemy crews would hear them and lose their will to fight. Commander Veltar studied the tactical reports from the Proxima War. The human ships had been smaller and less advanced than their opponents, but they had won every major engagement. Their tactics were unpredictable, and their pilots showed impossible skill. Look at this combat footage, she said, pointing to a video file. The grainy recording showed human ships moving through a battlefield like they were dancing. They dodged weapons fire that should have been impossible to avoid and struck with precision that seemed almost supernatural. They coordinated their attacks perfectly, observed Dr. Yan. But there was no visible communication between their ships. It was like they could read each other's minds. The most disturbing part of the records was what happened after battles. Human ships would sometimes broadcast more music as they left the battlefield. The songs were different then, slower, sadder, as if they were mourning their fallen enemies. "They honored their dead," whispered Clicks, reading from a survivor's report. "After destroying our fleet, they played what our translators called funeral songs. Some of our survivors said it was the most beautiful and terrible thing they had ever heard." A communication alert interrupted their research. The humans were requesting permission to leave their ship and begin the meeting process. Sarah Chen's voice came through the speakers, sounding completely normal and friendly. "Kepler Station, this is Captain Chen. We have completed our landing procedures and are ready to meet with your representatives. We have gifts to share and look forward to learning about your culture." Commander Veltar looked around the room at her terrified staff. None of them wanted to be the first to meet the legendary human warriors face to face. But protocols had to be followed even in the most dangerous situations. "Prepare the standard first contact chamber," she ordered, trying to keep her voice steady. "Full security detail, but keep the weapons hidden. We do not want to appear threatening until we understand their intentions." As her staff scrambled to prepare for the meeting, Veltar wondered if she was making the right decision. The humans had been peaceful so far, but the files suggested they were master strategists. Their friendly behavior might be part of some larger plan. Outside in the docking bay, Sarah Chen was checking her equipment and preparing to meet aliens for the first time. She had no idea that her simple choice to play music during landing had identified her as one of the most feared warriors in galactic history. The legends of the singing demons of Terra were about to meet reality, and nobody knew what would happen next. Captain Sarah Chen stepped out of her ship and looked around the docking bay with wonder. The space was enormous, easily 10 times larger than anything she had seen before. The walls curved gracefully upward, and soft lights created a welcoming atmosphere. Everything was clean and modern, far more advanced than the rough mining station she was used to. "This is incredible," she said to her engineer Mike Torres, who was carrying a case of their trade goods. "Look at the size of this place. They must have some serious technology to build something like this." Mike nodded, equally impressed. "The gravity feels perfect, too. They really know how to make visitors comfortable." Sarah had dressed in her best uniform for the occasion. It was still a practical work outfit, but clean and pressed. She wanted to make a good first impression on these aliens. This could be the beginning of a profitable trade relationship. What she did not expect was the reception committee waiting for her. As they walked toward the bay entrance, Sarah noticed movement in the shadows. Dark shapes shifted behind barriers and support columns. It looked like security forces, but that seemed excessive for a peaceful first contact. "Captain Chen," a voice called out from speakers mounted on the walls. "Please proceed to the marked path and follow the guide lights to the meeting chamber." Sarah looked around and saw a line of blue lights leading across the bay floor. The path took them away from the main entrance and toward a smaller side door. More concerning was the fact that she could now clearly see armed guards positioned around the bay. "Mike, is it just me? Or does this seem like overkill for a trade meeting?" she asked quietly. Her engineer frowned as he counted the visible security positions. "Either they are very paranoid, or they think we are dangerous." As they followed the lighted path, Sarah tried to figure out what she might have done wrong. Her first communication had been polite and peaceful. Her ship carried only basic defensive systems. She had even brought gifts to share. The side door opened as they approached, revealing a long corridor lined with more guards. These aliens were different species. Some looked like large insects, others were reptilian, and a few appeared to be covered in thick fur. All of them were armed and watching Sarah's every move. "This is definitely not standard first contact protocol," muttered Mike. They were escorted through several security checkpoints, each more thorough than the last. Scanners examined every piece of equipment they carried. Guards searched through their trade goods with extreme care, as if expecting to find weapons hidden among the coffee beans and music files. Finally, they reached a large meeting chamber. The room was clearly designed for diplomatic encounters, with comfortable seating arranged around a circular table. But the atmosphere was tense rather than welcoming. Commander Veltar waited at the far end of the table, flanked by several other officials. Her blue skin was pale with stress, and her breathing slits fluttered nervously. She stood as Sarah and Mike entered the room. "Captain Chen," she said formally, "I am Commander Veltar of Kepler Station. Welcome to neutral space." Sarah smiled and stepped forward with her hand extended for a handshake. "Thank you for the welcome, Commander. I am honored to meet you and your people." Veltar looked at the extended hand with confusion and fear. According to the classified files, human hand gestures could be part of their psychological warfare tactics. She did not know that Sarah was simply offering a friendly greeting. "Please be seated," Veltar said, gesturing to a chair positioned so that security cameras could record Sarah's every movement. Sarah sat down, still confused by the cold reception. She had expected curiosity and excitement, not armed guards and nervous officials. "I have brought some gifts from my world," she said, opening her case. "We have coffee beans, which make an excellent drink, and music files that represent our culture." The mention of music caused several aliens in the room to tense visibly. Dr. Yan leaned forward with intense interest. "Your music," he said carefully. "Is it similar to what you broadcast during your approach to the station?" Sarah brightened, thinking she had found common ground. "Oh, you like that?" "Yes, that was David Bowie. He is one of our most beloved artists. I have thousands of songs from Earth if you would like to hear more." The reaction was immediate and alarming. Several guards reached for their weapons, and Commander Veltar went even paler. "Thousands of death songs?" whispered clicks from his position at a side console. Sarah blinked in confusion. "Death songs? No, that was Space Oddity. It is about an astronaut going to space. It is actually quite peaceful." She reached into her case and pulled out a small music player. "Here, let me play something else for you. This is Bach, very calming and beautiful." The gentle notes of air on the G-string filled the room. To Sarah, it was one of the most peaceful pieces of music ever created. To the aliens in the room, it sounded like a funeral dirge for victims of some terrible battle. "Please stop," said Commander Veltar, her voice shaking. We understand your capabilities. There is no need for demonstrations." Sarah turned off the music, now completely bewildered. "I do not understand. Is music offensive to your cultures? I'm sorry if I've caused any problems." Dr. Yan studied Sarah carefully. The human appeared genuinely confused by their reactions. Either she was an excellent actress or something was very wrong with their intelligence files. "Captain Chen," he said slowly, "are you aware of your species' reputation in this part of the galaxy?" "Reputation?" Sarah laughed. "We do not have any reputation. This is our first time in this area of space. We are just traders and explorers looking to make new friends." The room fell silent. The aliens exchanged glances, uncertain how to proceed. According to their files, humans were master strategists who never revealed their true intentions. But Sarah seemed genuinely innocent of any military knowledge. Commander Veltar decided to test the waters. "You say this is your first time here. What about the Proxima War? Did your people not fight in that conflict?" Sarah frowned, trying to remember her history lessons. "Proxima War? I think I heard something about that in school. Some kind of conflict 50 years ago? But Earth was not involved in any galactic wars. We only developed faster than light travel 10 years ago." Mike nodded in agreement. "Yeah, Captain. Earth was still trying to figure out basic space travel during the Proxima War. We had barely reached Mars back then." The aliens in the room began to look very confused. Their intelligence files clearly identified humans as the mysterious warriors who had appeared during the Proxima War. But these humans claimed to be peaceful traders who had only recently developed space travel, perhaps, said Dr. Yan carefully. "You could tell us about your approach to space combat? Your tactical philosophies?" Sarah looked even more confused. "Combat? We do not have any space combat experience. Our ship has basic shields and some mining lasers for protection. But we have never fought anyone." She paused, then added with a smile, "We are much better at making coffee than making war." At the mention of coffee, several guards actually fainted. The word coffee appeared in their intelligence files as a code name for a human biological weapon. Sarah watched in amazement as medical teams rushed to help the unconscious guards. She turned to Mike with a bewildered expression. "What did I say?" The medical teams finished helping the unconscious guards, and an uncomfortable silence settled over the meeting room. Captain Sarah Chen sat in her chair looking around at the nervous alien faces with growing concern. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked. "I really do not understand what is happening here." Commander Veltar made a decision. The human either was the greatest actress in the galaxy, or something was seriously wrong with their intelligence files. She needed to know the truth. "Captain Chen," she said slowly, "I am going to share some classified information with you. I need you to tell me if any of this sounds familiar." She nodded to Clicks, who activated the main display screen. Images appeared showing ship battles from 50 years ago. Crude angular vessels moved through space, dodging weapons fire and striking with impossible precision. "These ships," said Veltar, "do they look familiar to you?" Sarah studied the images carefully. The ships did look somewhat like human designs, but they were much more advanced than anything Earth had built 10 years ago. "They look like they could be human ships," she said honestly, "but not from my time. Maybe from the future, or built by humans who left Earth long before we developed space travel." Dr. Yan leaned forward with interest. "Humans who left Earth early? Can you explain that?" Sarah thought about it. Well, there were always stories about secret government projects. Some people believed that advanced technology was being hidden from the public. Maybe some humans developed space travel decades before the rest of us knew about it. She paused, then added, "There were also stories about missing ships and crews. Some people thought they had found alien technology and used it to leave Earth, but those were just conspiracy theories." Commander Veltar felt the pieces of a puzzle starting to fit together. These early humans, would they have taken Earth music with them? "Of course," said Sarah immediately. "Music is one of the most important parts of human culture. Anyone leaving Earth would definitely take music along. It helps with morale during long trips." Mike nodded in agreement. "Yeah, Captain. I cannot imagine being in space without music. It keeps you sane during the boring parts." The aliens in the room began to understand. The terrifying psychological warfare they had feared was actually just humans being humans. The death songs were entertainment. The funeral music was art. "Captain Chen," said Dr. Yan carefully, "when you broadcast music from your ship, what was your intention?" Sarah shrugged. "I like music while I work. Flying through space is boring, so I play songs to keep myself entertained. I thought you might enjoy hearing something from Earth culture." She smiled apologetically. "I had no idea it would upset anyone. On Earth, sharing music is considered friendly and welcoming." Commander Veltar felt 50 years of fear and legend crumbling around her. The mighty human warriors who had terrorized the galaxy were actually just people who liked to listen to music while they worked. "The coffee you mentioned," she said. "What exactly is that?" Sarah brightened, happy to find a safer topic. "Coffee is a drink made from beans that grow on Earth. It contains caffeine, which helps humans stay alert and focused. It tastes wonderful and smells amazing. Would you like to try some?" Several guards tensed again, but Dr. Yan held up a hand to stop them. "Is it safe for other species to consume?" "I have no idea," admitted Sarah. "We would need to test it carefully. Different species might react differently to caffeine. But for humans, it is completely harmless. We drink it every day." Mike opened their sample case and pulled out a small bag of coffee beans. The rich aroma filled the room immediately. Several aliens backed away in fear, but others seemed curious about the pleasant smell. "This is what we were hoping to trade," explained Sarah. "Earth produces excellent coffee, and we thought other species might enjoy it. We also have music, art, and some basic manufactured goods." Commander Veltar realized that everything was becoming clear now. The humans were not warriors returning to terrorize the galaxy. They were traders hoping to make friends and earn some profit. But this raised an even more disturbing question. "Captain Chen," she said slowly, "if you are peaceful traders, what happened to the humans who fought in the Proxima War?" Sarah thought about this. If there really were early human colonies out there, they might still exist. Space is huge, and there could be human settlements we do not know about. She paused, looking troubled. Though if they fought in a war 50 years ago, they might not be peaceful anymore. War changes people. Maybe they became professional soldiers or mercenaries. The room fell silent as everyone considered this possibility. The legendary human warriors might still be out there somewhere, hidden in the dark spaces between stars. "Or," said Mike thoughtfully, "maybe they went home after the war. If they were secret government agents or something, they might have returned to Earth and kept quiet about their experiences." Sarah nodded. "That would explain why we never heard about it. Military people are good at keeping secrets." Dr. Yan was fascinated by the implications. So there might be two different human populations, peaceful traders like yourselves and experienced warriors from the earlier colonies. "It is possible," said Sarah. "But I hope we do not meet the warrior types. We are not fighters. We just want to trade and explore." Commander Veltar made another decision. The confusion needed to be cleared up completely. "Captain Chen, I am going to show you the complete files about your species' military reputation. I want you to understand why we were so frightened when you arrived." For the next hour, Sarah and Mike listened in amazement as the aliens explained the legend of the human death songs. They learned about the psychological warfare, the impossible piloting skills, and the tactical genius that had made humans the most feared warriors in the galaxy. "That is incredible," said Sarah when the briefing was finished. "I had no idea humans could be so scary. We always thought of ourselves as pretty peaceful." She thought about what she had learned. "But you know what the strangest part is? Everything you described, the music, the casual attitude toward danger, the ability to stay calm under pressure, those are just normal human traits." Mike agreed. "Yeah, Captain. Remember when we had that engine failure near the asteroid field last month? You were humming while you fixed the problem." Sarah laughed. "That is just how humans deal with stress. We use music and humor to stay calm. It does not mean we are not scared, we just do not let fear stop us from doing what needs to be done." Commander Veltar realized the most terrifying truth of all. The humans had not been trying to be frightening. During the Proxima War, their legendary, psychological warfare was just normal human behavior under pressure. They treated deadly space battles the same way they treated engine repairs, as problems to be solved while listening to good music. As the meeting continued and trade negotiations began, word spread throughout Kepler Station that the crisis was over. The humans were peaceful traders, not returning warriors. But in the deep files of galactic intelligence, a new notation was added to the human species profile. Extremely dangerous when threatened, but do not seem to realize it. Approach with caution and respect. Under no circumstances should they be made to feel unwelcome. Because the galaxy had learned an important lesson that day. The most dangerous species were not the ones who tried to be scary. They were the ones who hummed cheerfully while doing impossible things.